Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always. And today we are joined by Sam Bell III. Sam is a maestro in the digital marketing realm, specializing in propelling coaches, consultants, and digital product creators to new heights. With a seasoned background stretching over 17 years at social ads mentor, Sam has been instrumental in driving businesses from 6 to 7 figures through precise, impactful lead generation and conversion strategies. Leveraging the prowess of social media pay-per-click ads, Sam and his team craft bespoke marketing campaigns, including automated webinar lead gen, to magnetize your target audience effectively. Imagine your business flourishing, generating 20,000 or more monthly through meticulously designed Facebook ad campaigns. I've asked Sam to join us here today to share his story and insights into optimizing profits while enjoying more free time to do just that. So Sam, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate having you here. Now, when I get started with these, I always like to ask, how'd you even get into the advertising game? Were your parents in advertising? Were you sitting around the dinner table? Was your dad like, all right, Sam, send me this pen? Like, how did you get going?
Great question. So I'll give you the quick overview. So it was actually an accident. My background is in IT administration. And so anyone who works in IT, especially network administration, as long as the network's up and everything is working, you got a lot of downtime. So I used to spend a lot of my downtime researching and looking for different ways to make money on the internet. And this is probably back in 2002. And I came across a guy by the name of Corey Rudel at the time.
Yeah,
And
Corey Rudel. What?
yeah, man, came across Corey Rudel, wound up investing in one of his programs and started my journey down the internet marketing space. Fast forward to around 2005, I wind up transitioning into real estate investing in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was did really well investing, buying and selling, wholesaling, flipping houses. And around 2007, I noticed things started to slow down a little bit. Now, during this time, I still invested in education in terms of digital marketing. I joined StomperNet back in the day when
Man, yeah, memory lane.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I went through down that whole process. I did some training with a guy by the name of Howie Schwartz. He really got me into the Black Hat SEO and stuff like that. So I was always had one foot in the digital marketing space as I was developing my real estate business. But what happened though around 2007, things started to slow down. A lot of my local buyers, they weren't buying. Man, I need to find out how can I start getting buyers that would snatch up these properties that are out of town. So what I did was I actually started optimizing and building websites so that way when people would look for Atlanta investment property, Atlanta rehab deals, that they would find my site and my videos. And this was like in the early days of YouTube. So I think I was probably one of the first real estate investors to actually start filming and uploading their investment properties to YouTube. And then I would optimize those videos and then I would do lead generation like that. So I wound up going to this seminar that I heard about that where people were doing virtual real estate investing virtually all online. So I was like, man, I need to learn about this. So I went there, met these guys and formed a relationship with them. The following year, I ran into them at another event and I shared with them what I was doing and how I started generating leads online using my strategies. And he's like, man, you need to come and do a presentation on this stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. So I put a presentation together. It was my first time ever speaking on stage down in New Orleans, Louisiana, 2008 at Virtual Investing Seminar 2. I did that presentation and there was another guy that was in attendance. He's, man, that was one of the best presentations I've seen. We can turn this into a product. I'm like, what do you mean? We can sell this. We can package it and sell it and you can teach it and I'll sell it. I was like, bet, let's do it. So I partnered up with him. So his name was Colin Egbert and him and his partner, Matt Lights, they own realestateinvestor.com, which was one of the first social networks for real estate investors back in 2008. And we went on to sell over $2 million worth of that product from 2008 all the way to 2010, 2011. And around that same time, I started teaching other investors how to do creative REO investing, wound up building a software platform for REOs because around 2008, the crash happened. So there was a flood of bank foreclosures, but they were scattered all over the place. So I wound up partnering with this guy and we developed a software that essentially scraped all the bank REO sites put them into one centralized location where people could find them. And then I had to get customers for that. So we did a JV launch initially, but then I started running ads on the Google Display Network to generate leads and buyers for the software. And because of that, around 2009, 2008, 2009 was a big Google slap. And Google basically banned a lot of the educators, information marketers from Google if they weren't in compliance. Because of my relationships and reputation in the real estate education space for digital marketing, I had a lot of guys starting approaching me for consulting and help. Yeah, because they knew that's what I did. And so I started doing that consulting work and determined, man, I really enjoyed doing this. And I transitioned into an agency accidentally because people were giving me money just to help them with Google AdWords. And so that's how I got into the agency space, 2009. So this was before Facebook ads, really any type of social media ads. I started with Google Display Network specifically. And then obviously once Facebook came on the scene, we expanded to Facebook, was on the platform as soon as it launched. And expanded obviously to YouTube and other platforms since then. And I also outside of the real estate education space. So that's how I cut my teeth and got into this space.
Yeah, man, to bring back so many memories. We got a mutual friend, Jermaine Griggs. Jermaine and I also have Corey in common. I came into it long after Corey, but I found Corey's stuff. And when I first met Jermaine, we talked about that. That's like going way back. One of our other guests that's been on the show 4 times, I think now, Ken McCarthy, who's like the godfather. Yeah, like he had the first internet, for people that don't know, he had the first internet marketing seminar with Mark Andreessen there. The guy that made the web browser. Sam's definitely an OG in the space. He's been around. He's StomperNet. That's like memory lane, man. That's so wild. So it sounds like you started with Google Ads. This is just a question out of the blue. Do you have a preference for Google versus Facebook or any of them?
Yeah, so it really depends on the offer, but I will say 9 times out of 10, I typically start with Facebook. And the reason that I start with Facebook is because in my experience, it's much faster to see results than it is with Google. Google is a little bit more temperamental, but Google is much more scalable, in my opinion, than Facebook. And then you also have to understand too that the intent is very different with Google than it is with Facebook. So you're typically going to spend more for leads, more for registrations, but because the intent is higher, they're typically going to be much more valuable than a social media lead. But my preference is to start with Facebook to test, get everything dialed in, and then begin to transition to Google and scale up on Google once we begin to maximize revenue on the socials.
Can you walk through that process? So you say test to get things dialed in. I know a lot of people, they use paid ads like crapshoots, like they just, and they don't walk away winning all the time. So can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so I have a process, right? And so the first thing, everything starts with the offer. All right. What type of offer do you have? What's your price point? What's your goals? And then based on the offer, based on the price point and the initial goals, then that's going to help establish our framework for what our target KPIs are, how much we can spend to acquire a customer, as well as the sales process that we need to create based on the offer and price point. Because a lot of times people have too long of a sales process for the price point. And sometimes the sales process is not long enough because of the price point. A lot of times people will say, oh, well, I need a webinar funnel. And then you look at their offer and their price point, like, not necessarily. We can probably shorten the sales process and spend less money to acquire a customer if you didn't do a webinar. Maybe you just need to do a lead gen funnel. Maybe you need to just do a survey funnel. Maybe you need to do a VSL funnel. So we look at the offer, look at the price point, and then we'll build the sales process around the offer. Once we do that and we know, okay, our first goal, let's say if we're selling a $5,000 coaching offer, right? If it's an offer that has not been tested with paid advertising, let's say they've only done organic, then typically what we'll do is we'll set up either a condensed book a call funnel, where we'll basically run ads directly to a book a call, where they'll basically schedule a calendar. We'll have some survey questions, and then we'll put the VSL on the back end. Because my goal initially if I'm dealing with an offer that has not been proven with paid ads, is I want to get data as fast as possible. So I want to remove the friction. I don't want to have a ton of friction up front. So it's okay, let's come up with an ad that really speaks to the pain points, really speaks to the issues, and make a very direct offer, and then take that person to schedule and book a call. We're going to use the questionnaire on the back end to filter through in terms of determining quality. And then we'll put the VSL on the back end after they schedule their call to indoctrinate and educate before they actually have their call. And so we'll do that first, and we'll set up that process. And then we'll come up with different creatives. We'll write creatives, a combination of both video ads as well as image ads, and then we'll run some tests, right? And so I launched what I call the 5x5 method, right? Where we'll take 5 different creatives, 5 different post texts, 5 different audiences, and we'll launch that campaign on Facebook. So we'll have this set up as a conversion campaign. We'll normally start with a sales objective, and we will optimize typically for the first step in the funnel. So the first step in this particular case would be for someone to book a call. So I would either optimize for that, or I may do a 2-step. If I want to capture their name and email first, I'll capture name, email, phone number, and then optimize for a lead on that conversion. And then after they enter their information, book a call, right? Because I just want to get as much data as possible. So then we'll run that as a dynamic campaign. So we'll have dynamic ads. We'll have 5 different creators, typically 3 videos, 2 images, or 3 images, 2 videos. And then we'll have 5 different ad sets, right? Which will have a combination of different audiences. If we're starting from ground zero, meaning we don't have any data, then we're going to typically go more broad demographic, psychographic type audiences. If they do have some data, we'll create some lookalikes based off of the data that's provided. So if they have a list of a few hundred people of customers or their ideal customers, then we'll use that and also create lookalike audiences as well. If they have data on their page, or let's say if they have a social media following, then we'll also create audiences off of the people who've engaged with their social media profiles as well. Typically, our audience will look like this. It'll be maybe wide, broad audiences, psychographic, another broad audience, demographic, psychographic, a lookalike audience based off of data, another lookalike audience based off of engagement, and we may have a retarget audience. And that's all inside of one campaign, all set up for dynamic creative, and then we'll launch that and let it run. And then essentially what we're looking for is I'm trying to identify what messages resonate the most, what creative performs the best, what audiences perform the best. We'll let that run for around 72 hours, gather some preliminary data. And then once we identify out of those dynamic creatives, those audiences, and the messaging which performs the best, then what we'll do is we'll extract that and then create additional ad sets just to run the top performing image or video, the top performing copy or post text with the top performing audience. And then we'll begin to scale that up. And so once we start to see, okay, now we're getting leads within our target KPI, we're getting calls booked within our target KPI. And if we begin to determine that, hey, the quality is not that good, then we'll begin to add friction, as opposed to maybe sending people directly to book a call. And then we might put the VSL in front and indoctrinate and educate. So it's really a process. It's a sequence of things that we do to first gather the data. And then once we start getting data, then we'll begin to optimize that. And then we'll begin to adjust the sales process and introduce friction to better qualify and get quality appointments, leads, and sales. So that's just, and again, that's just based on someone that has a high ticket offer, right? If we were leading with a low ticket offer, it'd be a totally different process that we would apply.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a minimum price point that you think people need to have if they want to play the paid ad game?
So the thing about paid ads is that it's really just, paid ads are just really an amplifier to content. Again, it really goes back to the offer. If you only have a low ticket offer, you definitely can make paid ads work. It's going to take some time to dial in the offer. You need to have some budget to test. So I do recommend that people do have either some sort of continuity or some sort of backend
What would be
to
a minimum? If you were at a family barbecue, What would be a minimum you tell someone they got to figure out? Because for people that are listening that don't know, you might have a lower ticket front end offer, but you're gonna got 2, 3 other things that people typically buy. The lifetime customer value is different than the price that you're selling via paid ads up front. So is there a minimum kind of lifetime customer value?
I would say on the low end, at least 3K. I typically go higher than that. The clients that we typically work with will have a lifetime customer value of anywhere between 15 up to $100,000. But on the low end, 3,000 just to get going. And you should be able to introduce new offers to increase that over time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making?
Not having a plan of action, just throwing stuff up against the wall and seeing what's going to stick. A lot of times people will launch ads without even establishing target KPIs and determining what their CAC is, the customer acquisition cost, and really knowing exactly how much money can you spend. And it's really just a simple math problem, right? You want to start with, okay, what is my lifetime customer value? How long will it take me to reach that? I typically like to identify how much revenue can one customer generate within a 30-day window, because most people are running ads on their credit card. So you typically have 30 days to pay that bill off, right? So how much is a customer worth? If you say, okay, well, if someone can convert within 30 days into a $5,000 customer, then I may be willing to spend up to $1,000 to acquire that customer, or $2,000 to acquire that customer, whatever that number is. So we say, okay, $5,000 customer value. I'm willing to spend at least $2,000 to acquire that customer. My target goal for this month is $50,000 in revenue, which means I need to acquire at least 10 customers at $5,000 a pop, and I'm willing to spend at least $2,000 to acquire each customer. I'm willing to spend at least $20,000 in order to hit that target goal. And then from there, then we're going to, based on the sales process, right? So now if I'm saying, okay, I'm selling them over the phone, then how many book appointments or how many calls do I need to get on in order to get 10 customers? If, let's say I can convert 15% on the phone, which is not that good, by the way, right? Let's say I need to get 100 appointments to sell, or 100 actual calls to sell, to convert 15%, which would be like 15 sales. So maybe I might need 90 live calls. Out of those 90 live calls, I know I'm not going to have 100% show up rate. So if I'm only going to get 70% of the people to show up, I may need 150 calls to get maybe 100 actual show ups. And then of that 100, I may close 15% of those people into my program. So then I can see, what is it going to cost me? What's the most I can spend? If I got a $20,000, if I'm willing to spend up to $20,000, up to $2,000 per customer, and I need to get 100 book calls, then I'll take $20,000 divided by, let's say, 150 book calls. Then I'll know I'm willing to spend $133 per scheduled call. Right. All right. And then I say, okay, 150, that's a 30-day time frame. So then how many calls do I need to schedule per day if I only have 30 days? I need to get at least 5 book calls per day. If I'm still willing to spend, if I need to get at least 5 book calls per day, I'm willing to spend $133. Then I need to have a daily budget of around $665 per day in order to hit those numbers.
Yeah, I love that. So you really break it down. It's not just throwing stuff on the wall, like you say, to stick. So have a plan and do the math. And
100%.
I think if they're getting started, don't bet the farm. Like, this is something, if someone's brand new, if they're launching a new business, would you say, yeah, lean in on Facebook ads?
I would still say lean in on Facebook ads, but I would take a totally different approach and strategy. Because if it's a new offer, no one knows you, you don't have an audience, then you want to start by indoctrinating people with content. Because again, ads are nothing more than content amplified. So if people don't respond to your regular post or to your post, what you post on your wall, on your page. Now, if you just only have a bunch of people who are friends and family and no one's who your target market or demographic, then you might want to be more strategic about how you procure friends on Facebook. If you're going to use your wall to market, then you want to make sure that you're intentional about the friends you procure. Otherwise, if you're going to just start brand new from scratch, then just use paid ads, right? And use the targeting, because you can start with content that have a soft call to action, and then put that in front of people and just run video views. You can run video views to indoctrinate people. And then based on the consumption rate of the people who are watching your videos, then you can begin to move those people into another audience. Okay.
You're talking about you're talking about a video remarketing funnel. So for people that don't know, you can target on Facebook based on how much of a video ad people have watched. So if people watch 10%, 30%, 50% of a video. So for those that don't quite get it, what Sam's talking about is that if you've got a brand new offer and you've not really done this, you can just start off with soft content video ad, or sorry, content video ads with a soft pitch in them, and then run those, and you still build somewhat of an audience, but that audience is going to be people that kind of stay to the end typically, or at least 50%, I would imagine. And those people, you then move to the next step, because there's a psychological process I think Sam's alluding to that people go through when they purchase. What would that psychological process be, Sam?
Yeah, exactly. You hit it, right? Because the currency of the internet is attention, right? So if you're creating a content video that's 3 to 5 minutes long, and you're getting someone to consume at least 50% of that, knowing that the average attention span is less than 3 seconds, and someone's watching 2 to 3 minutes like that, that's basically someone raising their hand saying, hey, I'm interested in this. And so then what I would do is then I would then create an audience based on those people, how much of the content that they consume. And then I would put them into a separate target audience. And then I will run more of a direct offer type of ad to those individuals. And you can start doing this with a very low budget. You can literally start with $1 to $2 per day for a video ad, create 5 different pieces of content, $2 a day, you got a $10 a day budget. Okay. And then based on, and then as people start to watch your content and consume your content, you're building that audience, building that retargeting list, and you can still send them through a funnel that I mentioned before, but just a much smaller budget. So it takes a little bit more time to build it up, but at least that way you can test your messaging, you can test your content, you can test your offer, see what resonates with people, and then you're optimizing based on the engagement and response rate of how people are responding to that content. So that way you can figure out, okay, it looks like they're responding to this type of content. Of all the different messaging and different angles that I tested, then this is the one that resonates the most. And then now you're creating a compound effect, because now you're going to put more of that type of messaging, more of that type of content out that you're going to engage and have people respond to.
I love that. So you're talking about, it's basically a 2-step paid ad funnel. So the first step is just content video ads. The second step is a direct offer to convert people that stayed 50+%. Depends on the video. Stayed.
Yeah, 100%. So I would do, and I would run that direct offer. I will still run that direct offer to cold, but I will also run it to the people who engage as well.
Got it.
There's always a percentage of people in the marketplace who are going to respond to a direct offer, even if it's cold.
So what are some other mistakes people are making? One is they don't have a plan.
They don't have a plan, and they don't have a good offer. A lot of times people get married to the product that they want to sell as opposed to the product that people want to buy. And so
how do you find that out? That's a great.
The best way to do it is to put it into the marketplace. I'm a believer in making data-driven decisions. Let the market decide. So when someone comes to me and they say, hey, I got this idea, I think this will work, I'm never going to say, don't do that. I may say, based on my experience, the probability of that working is low, but you know what? Let's test it. Let's let the market decide. Because a lot of times what you think won't work will work, and a lot of times what you think will work won't work.
Yeah. That's a really important thing for people to understand. There's nothing fails like success, because you start feeling like you got a golden touch, and that anything you do pops off, and then God humbles you real fast.
So the answer is create a minimal viable offer, put it into the marketplace, and see how people respond to it.
Right. So you're saying, because before we were talking about, and I've been in the game a long time too, so I know how it is, but for people that are listening that maybe are new, you're talking about selling a $3,000 product and spending $600 today, but you say there's also a way to do it with just a couple of bucks a day. And it sounds like you love Facebook to dial the offer in. And then once you've dialed the offer in and you're making sales, then once you've got a bit of a surplus budget, you're going to go to Google, because that's where the scale will come in maybe easier. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. But I will say this, a lot of times people never even maximize Facebook and Instagram before they even go to Google. A lot of people are like, I want to run on all these platforms. Just do. stick to one platform until you maximize that. Because here's the other thing that happens. As you begin to, everybody wants to scale, but there are different issues that arise as you grow and as you scale your business. When you're just a one-man team or just a two-man team and you're doing $50,000 to $60,000 a month, it looks very different when you're doing $250,000 and $300,000 a month. Your business needs to be different. Your support needs to be different. Your fulfillment process needs to be different. It's not always just about scaling. You need to also take into consideration the infrastructure of the business. And that's a thing that a lot of times people don't think about. And so I think it's important that people are just really clear on what is it that you want? How much revenue do you need to generate? Do you really want to build a $10 million thing? Do you want the responsibility that comes along with that? Or are you looking just to create a lifestyle business? Do you just want to make $500,000 a year or $1 million a year and have more of a lifestyle business where it's not too much stress, slight work? And if that's the case, you don't need to scale on YouTube and Google. You don't need to do all of those things.
Yeah, you reminded me of the Oprah effect. There used to be something they called the Oprah effect, where Oprah actually had a team that would audit businesses before they got mentioned or featured on her show, because it would crush them. Everyone's thinking, like, if I could just get in front of 1 million people, one, 0 times 1 million is still 0. But two, a lot of people, customers, they don't care. They don't care about the owners. They don't care whatever. So Oprah learned early on, if she showed up, she's, oh, I'm just enjoying this croissant from my favorite bakery around the street, that they would just get flooded with people and it would crash the business, because people don't care that you weren't anticipating 5,000 people showing up at your little bakery today, that where you normally serve 100 people a day. And the negative reviews would just pile up, like, oh, my thing was half cooked and they took forever to answer and blah, 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 blah. They just wouldn't care. And the bad press would outweigh the good press, so to speak. So they actually had something called, the Oprah effect, where you had to be careful because she could kill a business just by mentioning them. When you might think that's a blessing in disguise. I've got millions of customers not beating a path to my door. But like you said, there's a certain amount, it's almost like Superman. With great power comes great responsibility. As you start serving higher volumes of customers and clients, you get on different people's radars. I know I wanted to ask your opinion, but there's all sorts of different unwelcome surprises that pop up, like tax people starting to poke around into your things all of a sudden when you start either making flashy claims or speaking on stages, talking about success you've had. People start digging into you a bit more. What are some other, you alluded to some, in terms of responsibility, the staff, the infrastructure, hiring, right? That's another thing, like the hiring bylaws. Does everyone, depending where, if you're in the States or wherever, does everyone have the proper documentation, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of things people don't think about in terms of, it's more than just leads, sales, and fulfillment. That's what shocked me. I used to think it was just leads, sales, and fulfillment. And I helped my first client make an extra $1 million, actually 3 million under 8 months. And then I was just shocked from that experience and others to learn how dynamic and how much can be involved in running a business. And that it's not just making the sales. That a lot of people, when you're getting going, you just want the sales. At the end of the day, there's a lot more that can go into it. Can you keep going on some of the mistakes people make? We have a plan, have a good offer, know your goals, know what you want from life, maybe is another one.
Percent. That, because what your life goals are is going to dictate the type of business that you build. And so I think a lot of times us as entrepreneurs, we have this ideology or fantasy, especially if we have not run a business before, of what we expect it to be like. And that's just not the reality of it. So just be clear on what you want. And even if you have, like, things change, right? So like the goals that I had when I first got into business when I was 25 years old are very different for me now at my age and a father of 3 young kids, right? I have different goals and different priorities and different objectives. And I structure my business in a way that it allows me to maximize revenue through strategic partnerships and relationships, but also I still have some flexibility and time freedom and choices to be like, you know what, I don't want to do that. I'd rather take this time to go do X, Y, Z. So yeah, have a very clear plan. I think the other thing, as it relates to paid ads or growing your business with paid ads, is take time to educate yourself. There is a misconception, and you'll hear hundreds, if not thousands, of stories about different people who went and hired an agency who's supposed to be the best of the best, and the expectation that they're going to make magic raindrops fall from the sky with their magical ad skills. And the reality is that it takes much more to be successful. So take the time to educate yourself. I think everyone should take the time to either run ads themselves or at least get some insight as to what it entails, even if they do plan on outsourcing, because I'm a big believer in outsourcing, but have a baseline, some baseline education so you at least know what questions to ask. If you are going to outsource, you are going to hire people, you can make an educated and informed decision before you go out and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars hiring someone that really does not have the knowledge base or the capacity to get the results that you're looking for. But if you don't know what to ask, then you're just going into it blind. So just take some time to educate yourself, to gain some basic knowledge into how ads work, even if you are going to outsource and hire other people.
I think that's really sound advice, because a lot of people, they go to a contractor or an agency or something like that, kind of as a Hail Mary. Get me out of this. When those clients are never fun to work with, because they come to you in desperation and they put all the ownership and pressure on you. But you can't polish a turd. If an owner can't sell their own product or service, it's really tough to ask somebody else to do it. Like, it's not their business. It's not their, what is it? Yeah. I don't want to get all preachy here, but it's just, if you can't sell it, how could somebody else? And so you can still go to people, but you have to respect and understand that they're just there to help you solve the same problem. And I think you gave them some great tips on the start of this. I always wondered, how do these apps do it? Because some of these apps are selling like a $9 a month subscription, and they're trying to run Facebook ads. And I just feel that price point's so damn low. Maybe I got to go through their whole purchase funnel to see what they're really offering on the back end. But some of these little apps, I'm just like, man.
Apps. You really mean when you say apps, like what? Give me an example. You mean like down Google Apps, install like a fitness app or something like that?
Yeah. Like you're getting an iPhone app on your phone with some sort of subscription.
That's great. So yeah, so like a lot of these, so they do sell subscription models, but you also have to understand that the true value of a customer is the data. Even though it may cost me $60 to acquire a $9 customer, but now that I have that customer, again, what's the lifetime value of that customer? And then do I have other ways that I can monetize that? A lot of times they have the real play is an affiliate play or a data play where they're reselling that data to other people and they're getting paid for that. So they're willing to take a loss on the acquisition of that customer on the front end because they already have back end sales. They don't necessarily even have to be selling you something. They can have other people who are buying. Just like you have lead broker companies, they specialize in generating leads and they'll spend $100 to get a lead because they're going to sell that lead 10 times over.
Yeah. What are the real like walls? Like you talked about the Google slap. Facebook, I don't even know if they're still doing it. My Facebook ad account's been banned they didn't do any reviews. What are the real like walls on this sort of thing? What do people got to watch out for? Okay, I'm going to go experiment. What do you got to like read? I guess you got to read, you got to go spend the time to go read the approved, non-approved. What's that called?
The terms of service. Take the time to read the terms of service, know the do's and don'ts. The biggest thing with all platforms is just making claims. If you make unbelievable claims, unsubstantiated claims in your ad copies and your creatives, you can pretty much guarantee at some point in time you're going to get banned. Just be very cautious about the verbiage and wording that you use in your ads and on your landing pages as it relates to claims. And then also too, you have with Facebook specifically and Instagram, you have to also be cognizant of how your copy and creative make people feel, right? Because I know it's weird, but like it is a thing. Like if Facebook feels your image will cause a bad emotional reaction or put someone into a depressive state, they will not run, they will disapprove your ad, they will reject your ad. So there are certain nuances you have to be aware of when writing, even saying things like you and your, talking directly to the customer, right? We're taught to do that in ad copy. On the socials, you can't do that. So you want to focus more so on first person or third person copy or storytelling for your creative. Yeah, knowing the do's and don'ts, taking the time to read the terms of service, knowing how to craft messaging that's going to speak to your customers and call them out without violating terms of service.
What are some of the habits that your most successful clients have had in terms of, because it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Sure. So it's a great question. So I would say some of the best habits is one, they know their numbers. They check their numbers religiously. They also know their internal numbers, right? So not just like what we're doing, but like the fundamentals of their business, the health of their business, right? They also have a pretty dialed in sales process. Whether a lot of times people come to us, they may need help with the front end, or they may need help like with the mid-tier automation stuff. And so we'll help them with that because they know they have their back end dialed in, right? And so they know, look, if I can feed this front end, we have all the fulfillment and everything else handled and taken care of on the back end. The other thing I would say is that they're very clear on what metrics equal success for them. And so a lot of times I won't have to tell them what the KPIs. They'll come to me and say, hey, look, Sam, we need to acquire customers at X amount of dollars. If you can get us as many customers at this amount, then we're golden. You can spend as much money as you want to. The other thing I would say is that they're not 100% dependent upon, they're not 100% dependent upon paid ads, and they do have some sort of social presence, meaning that they take the time to post content. They do build the audience. They do engage with the audience. They do have a following and brand in addition to the paid ad side. I think the best businesses do a combination of both paid as well as organic.
Because again, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. What else? Anything else? Those are great tips.
Outside of that, just having a good team, outside of just working with us, having a good internal team that we can collaborate with and knowing who the go-to people are for certain things. Those are the businesses that I tend to have the most success with. They say, look, here's my guy for this, and this. If this is what you need, let us know. And they respond. They create content, or they give us the necessary within timely fashions. Then they have a plan. Everything I said, that the mistakes that people make, the businesses that succeed do the opposite of that. They have the strategy, they have the plan, they know the numbers, they know the metrics, they do the organic. In addition, they know the rules of the game, and they play by them.
And what do you think is the future for this industry? We got AI, there's a lot happening geopolitically, there's a lot happening economically. Where do you see things going in the next kind of 3, 5, 10 years? We got kids, so maybe we should talk in 5, 10 years versus 3 to 5.
So here's the thing. Technology is evolving way faster than humans. Even though we are constantly evolving and adapting, our buying behavior is changing. At our core of who we are, we're not changing. We still have a reptilian brain. We still have the conscious and subconscious. We still operate based on fight or flight principles. We still have our human nature. And so when you understand marketing at its core is really understanding human psychology and emotions, and being able to tap into the human psychology and the emotional state of people, tap into their desires, to their wants, to their fears, and being able to craft messaging that is going to be able to do that. Now, I do believe that as AI continues to improve, it will learn how to better adapt to the human psyche and to the human emotion. So it will be more capable of generating the creatives and messaging that resonate with us. So that just means that we'll be able to create messaging and create images and create videos at a much faster rate, because now the AI has learned how to navigate the human psyche and navigate the human emotions, and has a fundamental understanding what drives buying decisions based on data points. And us as marketers, the people who know how to leverage and tap into that, will be able to move much faster than we have historically.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I often say I feel like AI is just a fancy tool. Everyone's talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence, and it becoming sentient. And okay, people may not think I'm an AI expert. And it is on the horizon at some point. But for the most part, all the stuff we've created is a tool. When spreadsheets came out, accountants were panicked. Like NASA used to have math teams crunching the numbers to help do all the math to do this stuff. And then they had calculators, and then they had spreadsheets. And so things evolved and people had to learn and adapt, but it didn't, like you said, like at the end of the day, the human nature is the same. And it wasn't the end of times. Like it was just, okay, we got to pivot and adapt, learn new skills, and now we have new tools. And I feel like that's what this is at some point. There probably is a threat where if we don't, like I heard there's some rumor that in Japan, there were some military AI robots that came to life, and even after they were disassembled and shut off, and one of them, it like killed 29 staff or something like that. Like whether that's true or not, who knows? But that's like a real threat. And not even the sense of maybe it's a sentient being, but just the power of the technology that we're building, which comes back to human nature. It almost comes down to Gandhi used to say, if you are, Jim Rohn used to say, if you will change, the world will change for you. Gandhi used to say, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. And so it comes back to the zeitgeist and human nature and ourselves, and focusing on hopefully having a business that provides real value in the world and actually helps people live good, healthy lives and avoid crimes of desperation and that sort of thing. I think that's probably a good path towards the future, is to just recognize a lot of this stuff are just tools, try to have an outcomes-based philosophy versus tribalism. I think tribalism just does us no good. And hopefully we can walk together towards a brighter future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. But in regards to technology, is going to continue to evolve.
Yeah.
I just think you want to adopt. You definitely don't want to be left out in the cold. You want to have a curiousness about everything, but to be able to use deductive reasoning to see exactly, okay, how can I connect the dots? How can this technology help me in my business? How can I connect these two different things? I think that's one of my gifts in terms of just the way I learn and adopt different strategies and techniques. Because again, I'm definitely, even though I've been doing this a long time, I'm never the person to be like, I know everything, even though I know a lot. And I'll still take a course, I'll still go through different trainings, but I look at it and see where can I connect the dots and how can I create my own unique systems and strategies, leveraging new things that I've learned, right? So it's the same thing with technology. As these technologies evolve, looking for ways that I can adapt those new technologies into what I do to make things more efficient, to streamline things, to make things easier, to be able to get better results for myself and my clients.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Only a couple of questions left. One is, what do you think about as far as the battle between the big tech thought police and people trying to get, is that impeding a lot of people trying to do business type thing? We've gone through the last few years a ton of censorship. It's still there. There's clearly some sort of behind the scenes kind of silent war going on. How does that play out? Does that impact any clients? There's certain people, like a great example was a huge campaign years ago was called The Truth About Cancer. It was a massive, I think they ended up doing something like $50 million in 1, 2, 3 years. And it was because they were talking about things that you can't talk about because it's not profitable. There's all sorts of stuff coming out right now about trans medical procedures and like leaked messages and docs where there's people that are profiteering. There might be a genuine need and people that really, but there's definitely parasites that profiteer off this. And before you couldn't bring up any questions about the vaccine as an example, and now there's all sorts of stuff coming up about that. So I'm just curious to know your thoughts, someone that's worked with and been in the game for so long. How do you see that moving forward, and how does a business navigate that? Do you get what I'm saying? I don't know if I've articulated my question properly, but.
Got you. I will say this. There will always be powers that be who have an agenda. There will always be people who are looking to profiteer, whether it be big multinational corporations or your next guru slickster. So those people are always going to exist. And there's just going to be different iterations of them. The beautiful thing about marketing in general is that the market always continues to also evolve, right? We talk about the levels of awareness, right? The level of awareness will increase, even though that there will always be people who try to take advantage of people and to do nefarious things. The market will adjust for that because people are becoming wiser as well. Yeah. So I don't really get caught up in that component of it because it's just one of those things that's just always going to be. Now, of course, they're going to try to pass different laws and things like that. And so we just got to comply. But ultimately, as long as you're doing things to help people, you're being ethical in terms of your execution, your intent is and your heart is in the right place, then I wouldn't even worry about it. As long as you genuinely have a product or service that serves people, can help people, it can cause a transformation, and you have a genuine desire to help people get a result, whatever that may be, then I don't think it's an issue at all.
Yeah. I said, Sam, this has been a great interview. People may want to listen to it a couple of times. Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
I'm sure there's a ton of things that you should have asked, probably didn't ask. But no, nothing comes to mind at this time. I would just say to all of the people that, yeah, we covered a lot of stuff. Take one thing from this conversation that is applicable to your business, to where you are in life, and just do and test that one thing, right? Because we covered a lot of different things. And so I don't want people to feel as though they have to try to do this and do this, because a lot of times that just causes overwhelm. So just take one thing and execute, and be willing to fail fast. A lot of times people are they're frozen from taking action because they're scared of what the results will be.
Mm,
And I would say consider that as the fastest way to succeed. Success happens through failure. And in fact, failure never occurs until you quit. So success is just a path of finding out what doesn't work and doing more of what works. And the fastest way to do that is to execute.
yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. I love that a lot. If people want to learn more, if they want to plug in and find out more, follow you, what are the best ways for them to get involved? Or if they've got questions, they want to talk to you directly, what are the best ways for them to get involved and reach out?
Just socialadsmentor.com. All of my socials are social ad mentors. Instagram, social as mentor, Facebook, social as mentor, YouTube, social as mentors. Just Google social as mentor and you can hit me. I'm on the socials.
Yeah. So that's social ads, ADS,
Yes.
social ads, ADS mentor. You can also try and look up Sam Bell the third. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an honor and a pleasure knowing that you got your own followers, your own family, your own clients and staff and that to look after. Thank you for coming and sharing with my people and myself so we can all do a little bit better.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.